How we doing back there, guys, on volume level on the back table? Tommy, how we doing? Volume okay? We're all right? Louder? Right there? Okay. So we got to speak a little loud. What are you saying? Speak a little loud. Got that? Speak a little loud. Okay. I would like to start off tonight, before we get into our inductees, I would like to do a couple acknowledgments of folks that are out here tonight. We do appreciate all of you being here, but we do have some coaches in attendance. So from right here at Crestwood, we have Coach Keith Anderlich, Jerry Steffen, Gary Steffen, Mike Adams, Tom Schmoss, and Keith, you brought a couple of place winners with you tonight, didn't you? Who you got?
We got Schmoss brothers, Mitchell and Tyler Schmoss. Mitchell was a junior this year, he's a three-time qualifier, two-time place winner, and then his brother Kurt is a two-time place winner and a sophomore. So, Caleb Adams out golf, and he was the year that he's still golf. We got two of our three state place winners here, we took five of the state first this year. And all our state place winners are back this year. So, looking forward to it.
Thanks, Keith. Perfect. Perfect. And you heard him say he's out on the golf course. That sounds really good here pretty soon. So from right on down the road here, west of us, tonight we have our coaches from the 2024 state champion, Osage. We got Brent Jennings, Ryan Kittleson, and Thatcher Gooddale. Where are you guys at? There they are at the back table. Thank you guys for being here, and congratulations on one heck of a year. Going the other way, going east a little bit, down on Highway 9, from Decorah, we have Coach Dave Mitchell from Luther College here. Dave, there he is. I did want to shout out, we could have started tonight with the national anthem because our guy was here, Don Dolores here. Where is Don at? Where is he sitting? There he is. We make him sing it when he refs, when he coaches, all of that stuff. We love you. Thanks for coming. Also tonight, representing Wartburg College, Todd Becker and Mark Kiss. Thanks, guys, for being here. There's so many people here tonight that I need help. So Kyle Klingman of our selection committee, who a lot of you are here because this guy texted the heck out of you, called the heck out of you. So Kyle, take it away.
Just a few people on my end. Mike Finn from Win Magazine. This is his final year at Win, so congratulations on a great career. I'm sure everyone reads that magazine. Dave Malachek, we are going back and forth. We're in a little bit of an argument right now. He says he's the 12th toughest from Osage. I say number 11. So we're kind of going back and forth. But Dave is here. If you would stand up, you have a special guest to introduce there. And then made a big trip up here with his staff and 3 All-Americans. We can play favorites. One of my favorites, Mia Palumbo, is here. She won an NAIA championship this year. Jake Cato from William Penn had 3 NAIA national champions, the most of any school at the NAIA championships. Jake, if you just introduce your staff and the All-Americans you have here.
Yes, thank you guys for making the trip. No small trip indeed, but wow, that's an impressive room, but we're not done. Maybe we can acknowledge one of the Olympic gold medals in here tonight in the room. Two-time NCAA champion, four-time All-American. Randy Lewis is in the house. All right, and then we did have earlier, he had to run back to Iowa City. Coach Tom Brands was at the Hall of Fame, for those of you that were there. So at one point in the Hall of Fame, we had 3 gold medalists, counting Mr. Gable here, so that was pretty darn cool, I thought. Past recipients that are here tonight, we'd like to acknowledge and thank you for being here. If we haven't mentioned some of these here, these are our legends of the sport. So Stuart Carter is back. Stuart. Obviously, Jim Miller's here. Dan Mashik is here. Dan. Arlen Severson still at the same table. Jason Christensen right over here. Jason. Coach Rip is out there. Dave Ripley. Jesse Whitmer. Thanks, Jesse, for making it here. There's Jesse. He stood up. He did stand up. Jim Gibbons, obviously. Jim. And the legend of legends, Dan Gable. I don't know if the eclipse brought all this talent to the room tonight, but whatever it is, we are sure appreciative that you're all here tonight to make this a glorious evening. Selection committee, these guys have the tough job of selecting all of these folks. And I told you before already, this is a pretty unique Hall of Fame. So on our selection committee, Chairman Bill Roll. Where's Bill? There he is. He's the one that herds the cats. Herds the cats, yes. You're the one in charge of herding those cats, yes. Also on the selection committee, Dan Gable, Jim Gibbons, Jim Miller, Kyle Klingman, and Chuck Yagla. And I believe Chuck just decided he was going to hang up the selection shoes. So we wish Chuck a speedy recovery. And then representing our board of directors on the selection committee is Tom Fye. I do want to thank our board of directors also. I mentioned Dennis Merrick, our president, Jerome Rushka, Merle Sovereign, Jim Turvold, Tom Fye, Cindy Butekoffer, who checked you in tonight, Hunter Slifka, Mike Galvin, and Justin Sovereign. Thanks you guys for being the boots on the ground and making this all happen. Okay, so I'm going to kick it to Kyle real quick to do our induction posthumously of our 142nd and 143rd inductees to the Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame. So to our resident expert, here's Kyle.
One of my favorite memories that I've ever had in wrestling was when Jim Gibbons gave me a tour of the Iowa State campus. He took me everywhere, and that tour included the state gym on the campus of Iowa State. And that is where the first NCAA championships took place in 1928. Jim made fun of me a little bit because I would touch the brick and I really got into it. But it was a special moment for me because he told me about all the legends that ran on the track, whether it was Stuart Carter or Nate Carr or Jim Gibbons or Dan Gable. And our inductees posthumously both competed there, which gives me chills to think about that building is still there. Leslie Beers, the first NCAA champion for the University of Iowa, and Art Holding was the first NCAA champion for Iowa State. They kicked it off. So when we think about the great tradition that we have in the state of Iowa and the first NCAA champions that we produced, that was the tournament that happened in 1928. So if we could just give them a round of applause for being inducted posthumously, Leslie Beers and Art Holding.
And if you can read that in your program, it's pretty small, I got it, but these were Olympic alternates, is that right? Yes. So thanks to Kyle for doing the homework. We sure appreciate that. All right, on to our 144th inductee. So, from our selection committee and our past inductee to introduce and present our 104th inductee into the Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame, I will turn it over to Jim Miller.
It's my honor tonight to speak for my lifelong friend, Mike Allen. Mike, always the best dressed man in the house, and tonight he didn't disappoint. You still are tonight, Mike. Well, let me start off a story from Hall of Fame official, his friend Chuck Yagler. Chuck says, first let me congratulate Mike on his induction into the Hall of Fame. I was very fortunate to travel with Mike to many tournaments all over the United States. Mike was a great mentor for me in my officiating career. The story took place in the 1999 Big Ten Wrestling Championships in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We had 10 officials working 4 mats, with the first session starting on a Saturday at 10 a.m. If you're familiar with the facilities at Michigan, they have the Chrysler Arena hosting the tournament, and it was situated right next to the Michigan football stadium. I'm the head official for the tournament, so responsible for making the mat assignments for the officials. They put all the officials in a separate locker room, which was located underneath the stands of the football stadium and connected to the Chrysler Arena by a tunnel. Since I'm the head official, they give me a key for access to our locker room. All 10 officials head over to the arena at 9:45 a.m. to get warmed up and to get ready for the matches to start promptly at 10 a.m. I make the mat assignments at 9:50 a.m. Mike comes over to me asking for the key to the locker room so he can use the bathroom. I give Mike the key and, of course, expect him to be right back. You see, some officials are known for taking longer breaks than others, but that was never Mike Allen, as he worked as hard or harder than anyone. But pretty soon it was 10 a.m. and no Mike. Then it was 10:10, no Mike. I'm starting to get concerned, and finally, about 10:20 a.m., Mike shows up without the key to the locker room. It turns out that when Mike entered the locker room, he just left the key in the door and it slammed shut behind him. It was locked with no way for Mike to open it from the inside. Mike looked around and found a window he could open in the locker room and crawl through, and after crawling through the window, Mike is now inside the football stadium. The football stadium has a 10-foot chain link fence around the entire stadium. Keep in mind, Mike is wearing a striped shirt and climbs the fence so he can get back to the arena. He then has to go to the spectators' entrance of Chrysler Arena and, of course, has no ticket. He had to explain his dilemma to the gate security people and beg his way back into the arena. Just one of many stories while traveling with Mike. All right, I love this former interview with Mike. And so I'm using a former interview, but man, this is so awesome. And Mike, this is from Mike. Mike Allen was blessed with 2 families while making his mark as a young man in Waterloo and later as a 2-sport athlete at the University of Northern Iowa. Mike said, I had my biological family growing up in Waterloo, and then I also had another family of great coaches who gravitated toward me. An all-state football player and accomplished wrestler at Waterloo East, he became an all-conference wrestler and all-conference football player at UNI. He went on to become one of the most acclaimed wrestling officials in the nation. Allen added another accolade to a distinguished resume when he was inducted into the Ken Kraft Midlands Championship Hall of Fame. It's one of many honors Allen accrued in his 35-year officiating career, including joining the National Wrestling Hall of Fame and the Iowa High School Athletic Association Wrestling Hall of Fame. Mike Allen was the first African American to work the state finals in Iowa, the Big Ten finals, and the NCAA finals. He attributes much of his success to family. Betty and Willie Allen were the best parents. They set strong family values, were very religious, and they also set educational values. My mom got her degree from Gates College in Waterloo, and it was stressed to us that my 3 brothers and 2 sisters and I all do the same. All of us got our college degrees because of the values set by our parents. Allen showed that dedication to education, spending 28 years as a school principal and also serving as athletic director at his alma mater at East Waterloo. Betty Allen's, his mom, reach was long. She was very active in the Waterloo Women's Civic Club and started the Betty Allen Scholarship in 1950. That still is handed out today to low-income families and local groups. Mike said, I didn't need role models like Charles Barkley. Allen said, I had my mom and my dad. I didn't need to look at Willie Mays or Hank Aaron. My dad and mom were the Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta King of our neighborhood. Allen said his dad went to work early every morning at Rath Packing, and he knew what he had to do. And he was a great role model. Mike wrapped himself up into sports, playing football at a time when Waterloo East posted his famous 57-game winning streak. He went on to Ellsworth Community College and eventually played football and wrestled at UNI for legendary coaches Stan Sheriff and Chuck Patton. They truly were my second family, Mike said. They didn't want me to miss a class or miss a practice. If I did, somehow they knew right away. And they would seek me out and let me know. A non-traditional student, Mike was married at 18, had 2 children by the time he got into UNI in 1970. He earned a bachelor's degree in physical education and health, and later added a master's degree in elementary school administration. Allen was serving as an assistant wrestling coach at Waterloo Central High School for head coach Gene Luttrell when he was presented a new opportunity. I was coaching with Gene, and I was questioning some calls made on the mat by some of these officials. Gene said, if you think you can do better, you should take the officiating test. And he did, and so his journey began. He started officiating in the middle schools of the Cedar Valley and small towns around Northeast Iowa. His first big match came when Hall of Fame coach Bob Siddons of West Waterloo was double booked and called Allen to see if he would officiate the Oregon State-Iowa State match at Hilton Coliseum, January 19, 1981. And he jumped at the opportunity. Mike had a huge presence on the mat. And, he appears intimidating sometimes, but he stood out as the best official in the country, and the wrestling community recognized him for his work. Mike went on to work 23 NCAA Division I championships and was inducted in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame before retiring in 2009. Mike worked 20 Iowa High School Championship finals and voted Iowa Wrestling Official of the Year in 1980, 1987, 1982, and was inducted to the Iowa Officials Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2003. Mike also served as coordinator of wrestling officials for the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the Mid-American Conference. You did good, brother. Let's congratulate Mike Allen, our 144th inductee to the Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Congratulations, Mike. Congratulations. Tough act to follow, but we're going to keep moving here. So we are on to our 145th inductee into the Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame. So introducing our newest inductee will be none other than selection committee member and past inductee Dan Gable. Coach, you're up.
Thank you. This guy looks good. Sometimes he looks a little goofy, but right now he looks really good. I like his look. And I notice things. And one of the things that I did notice, even though I wasn't full-time with him in the Iowa wrestling room, I was there 1 year, I believe, when they brought me back. When they brought him back from Virginia Tech, I noticed he had a style that was hard to beat. By that I mean, you're good on your feet, you're good on the bottom, you're hard to beat. But he had more than that. So he was a little harder to beat than that. He was good on his feet, he was good on the bottom, but he could ride. He could ride, he could pin. And in his resume, you see he had 98 pins in high school. That's more than I had. Of course, I only had 64 matches in high school. He didn't break my record in college, though. I think probably the only guy that probably kept up with you in high school was Randy Lewis. He's out here somewhere. He was introduced? Where was he? He's back there. But Randy, I think, pinned 45 wrestlers in a row in high school. So that's pretty good. That's people to look up to. You always need that. You always need that. But anyway, his coach was a former Hawkeye that wrestled with me, Striker. And he was a mat wrestler. I don't know, you probably worked out with him, especially the earlier years. And he could wrestle on the top and he could wrestle on the bottom, besides just on the feet. I mean, if you're just going to be if you want to go the bare minimum, you got to be good on your feet and good on the bottom. And that means an Olympic style or high school style or collegiate. But when you add a little bit more to it and you get 98 pins in high school, it's because you know how to control people from the top. And obviously he did that, and it gave him a lot of opportunity to be more successful because he was good in all three areas instead of just two. He did win 4 high school state championships. Not many have won that. And he also was a national champion in college at the University of Iowa. He did go to Virginia Tech, where Tom Brands was coaching, and then when Tom came back to Iowa, he came back with him along with a few guys. And I did see Tom Brands here earlier today, and I asked Tom Brands about Jay. And his quote was, he got tough. He learned to stay in there. Now, most people probably never, by that time, you probably think he's pretty tough when he's winning 4 state titles. But then you got to go to a new level. When you go to that new level, there's going to be people that have won before that are not going to be able to win again unless they pick up their pace. And he basically quoted, he got tough, learned to stay in there. He did give Metcalf a lot of credit, and I'm not sure what you think. And he said that you practiced with Metcalf quite a bit early on, and that you learned to stay in there with him and work through it, like what we need in life when there's a little adversity. And that's what actually this banquet's all about. The banquet's all about excellence. It's about expertise, people that have excelled, people that affect other people, that they can look, wait a minute, I'm in a church, I'm looking up, I feel pretty good about that. But anyway, you look up to things that are out there, because if they're not out there, you won't have that ability. And that's what he was able to do. He stayed in there, he got tough, he learned to stay in there, he practiced with tough guys that were pushing hard, and learned how to do the same. And that's what gave him a chance to win a national championship, and more than a chance, he won a national championship. But if I do believe, I'm not sure what round it was, because I was watching from the sidelines, but there was a tough match. Was that senior year or not? In the semis, maybe? And maybe you were down 5 or 6 or 7.
9-2. It was against a guy from Virginia.
What do you know about Virginia? You're Iowa guys. No, they had to move. You know that, huh?
Yeah.
That's probably pretty famous out there. He was down 9-2 in the semis of the Nationals his senior year, even though he had placed before that. That wasn't what he was going out there for, and he won the match. He won that match. Came right down to the last minute, and I think you took your guy down, rode him probably, and you can thank Stryker for that ride, and then you can thank me for riding Stryker. We learned more than just the minimum. Sometimes the minimum can get you through, but you really have to be unbelievably talented to have the minimum get you through. And so I looked at my career, I looked at the way he wrestled, I looked at this town, Cresco, Iowa, I look at the guy that probably I looked up to, Tom Peckham, who's not here tonight, but he was good on his feet, he was good on the bottom, and he could ride and turn and pin. And then I look at this town, and I complained a couple years ago about excellence, because you got a lot of excellence in this town. Is your mom from here? Where is your mom? You're from here, Cresco, Iowa. Wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty crazy. But you got, so on the edge of the town, they didn't take the pride, and then all of a sudden I complained, and there's a big sign back up again. I love it. You took the pride. You got it. We're here. It's a great opportunity. So then I went to the museum, and I looked up to Tom Peckham, and his name wasn't on the outside, and I'm all over the museum on the outside, and next year I come up, and Tom Peckham's name's on the outside. So I'm pretty powerful up here. But I got to be careful, because I'm in a church, right? I'm not quite as powerful as I think I am. Could get struck down. But anyway, this guy, he won in 4 different weight classes. He has records there of holding the largest weights. He wrestled at 103, 125, 152, and 171, and he still won national championships. Tom Peckham won at 138, won in 54, 185. So you don't even know all that, but maybe you do, because you got connections. I got a guy out here, Jesse Whitmer. He was second team. All I do is pull him out of second team, put him on the first team, and then he wins the Nationals that year. That's you never know, and that's what this is all about. And I'm here to say good things about Jay and his family. There's Cresco ties. I love the expertise. We got people in this room that have a lot of faith in the great sport of wrestling, and that's what we're celebrating tonight. And so I'm just happy to be able to be up here and introduce Jay, to get you up here to tell it how it is. All right? Let's get him up here.
Alrighty. So I'm a little nervous. Oh, thank you. I'm a little nervous. I had to have 1.5 of these to get me up here. This is not, normally the thing that I like to do is sit up and talk about myself and that sort of thing. Growing up in Iowa, and I'm sure most of you in this room, you grow up on work ethic and keeping your mouth shut and showing up, dominating, going home, right? This is not the thing that we normally like to do. So what I've learned is you have to say thanks. And there's a lot of people that, as Coach Gable mentioned, are a part of anybody's success. And so first, I'd like to thank Coach Gable for that fantastic introduction. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame board and the selection committee. Apparently being born in Iowa is a criteria, but cauliflower ear is not one of those. Still, ears are looking good. Thanks to Jason, I do have to apologize. I know my communication is not always the best. I'm a little slow, and sometimes I do forget to reply. So I do apologize for that. My parents still have to remind me to respond to their calls and their emails and their texts. So at 37 years old, still trying to improve on that. Mike Allen, I think he might have stepped out, but I do have to thank Mike Allen. I might not be here for Mike Allen. In the semifinals of my freshman year at the state tournament, he was the secondary official, and I was in a sudden death overtime match doing that writing thing, and Mike came in at the very end and said time was out. So that was a big match for me, and certainly Mike's been a part of a lot of the matches that I've wrestled, both in the high school and collegiate scene. So awesome to see him. To the other honorees, so Trent and Travis Paulson, honored to share the stage up here with both of you, legends in the state of Iowa. Who else we got on here? We got my parents, Jim and Carol. Like the politicians, they go and they visit the 99 counties, and I was lucky enough to also visit the 99 counties by the age of 10. Saw a lot of small town Iowa gyms. Obviously, that's the joke, but appreciate everything else. There's too many things to rattle off, but obviously very thankful for the support and just the push, the drive, everything from them. We got Ubasa Wrestling Club in the house. Pablo, appreciate you. Yeah. I started going to Pablo when I was like 5 years old, or not 5 years old, 5th grade. But he still looks like he does when I was going to him in the 5th grade. And I'm now bringing my two oldest to Pablo's, so it's awesome to be back in that with you. My wife, partner, Jillian, she's up here in the front with me tonight. Getting into kind of this next part. There's the people in your life in those moments that are difficult and that just keep you grounded and keep you consistent. And she was definitely that rock during those high school days of, do I even want to do this wrestling thing? And into college at Iowa, where everything was obviously so difficult. And you know, a lot of stress and a lot of long workouts and tired days, and she was right there by my side the whole time. So very appreciative of her and everything that she's given me. And so I think, you know, this opportunity up here has given me a lot of time the last couple months. I've been thinking about what to say, and I just wrote it down on this napkin up here on the stage. And so procrastination, certainly, I'm kind of like that semifinals match, right, where I kind of waited till the last minute and then figured it out. But it's got me to think a lot. I've been outside of the wrestling community for, you know, a few years now, kind of out on the periphery. I, you know, help out from time to time, but it's really caused me to like think back on all the times. And for whatever reason, I'm kind of a cynic and a critical person, and I think a lot about the hard times. And you know, so I'll tell a few stories. And so some difficult things that I went through during this journey. Went through that transfer phase, going from Virginia Tech to Iowa. Had to sit out a year and didn't get a big bag of cash. That was pretty difficult. You know, training wise, I've been locked in saunas. I've done buddy carries up the Gable Hill in a thunderstorm while bees were attacking. I've had to live on Lee Fullhart's apartment floor with his wife and 3 other wrestlers for 6 weeks. That was pretty difficult. You know, like you mentioned, Metcalf. You know, fist fights with your college teammates in the practice room. There's been hour-plus long hard wrestling, go until you quit live wrestling sessions with UFC title contenders. Losing in the blood round of the NCAA tournament, not very fun. But I think all of those things that, you know, I come back to, really, it makes you think about, why do we do this sport? Would I do it again? And you know, there's a couple young guys in the room, young gals in the room that are still competing, and you know, really, I think it's about certainly embracing those difficult aspects of the journey, and knowing that you know, trusting in your coaches and trusting in your support system, and knowing that coming out on the other end of that, it is making you into who you are. And so, as much as sometimes I don't enjoy those thoughts, and I didn't enjoy those moments, you know, would I change it in the end? Definitely not. And you know, whether I won or not, I still think that it's all about the journey, and it's all about what you are learning and taking away as you are done and out of the sport, and then on to other things in life. And so, with that, thank you everybody again for showing up here, and hope to see you out socializing and out in the rest of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Congratulations. Well done. Well done. Okay. Got a couple brothers coming here. So, on to our 146th inductee into the Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame. So, here to do the introduction will be our selection committee member and also past inductee, Jim Gibbons.
Thank you, Jason. It's wonderful to be back here in Cresco, and Jay, my mom's from Cresco too, right? So I'm very proud of that. And she lived a little farm outside of Schley, and of course, yeah, related, possibly. Yep. So anyway, excited about that. A couple introductions I want to make. Here's a guy that's got impeccable timing, all right? Randy Lewis, stand up one more time here and get an introduction here. Randy Lewis, Olympic champion. He's in the bathroom the first time. The second one was, do I get up or don't get up here? The guy means a lot to me. Of course, he's going to introduce him. A couple other Iowa State national champions are here. Nate Gallick, right? Where are you at, Nate? Yep. You can stand up too, sir. The Waterloo's own, the Waterloo proud, Kyvan Gadsden, national champion. Really excited to be able to talk about these two fellas that they were really fun to watch in their development at Iowa State, and of course got an opportunity to see them develop. They had a great coach by the name of Keith Massey, who did a great job. What was the name of your little kids wrestling club that you had there? Yeah, it really basically the effort that Coach Massey was putting in basically put Southwest Iowa on the map here at Council Bluffs. Both these gentlemen graduated from Lewis Central. We're going to talk about Trent first. Marianne, we've decided to go through the in vitro method of deciding which one came out first, right? Trent came out first, so we're going to go ahead and introduce Trent first. That's their story anyway. Travis, good freestyle wrestler, pushed him out, right? There wasn't a push-out rule back then, but we're going to go with it. But I'm really excited, two things before we get to this introduction. Really proud of Mike Allen and the work that he has done. I think I go back, I was wrestling in that 81 duel with Iowa State, so I got an opportunity to wrestle in his first match, and I think I had a guy like up 21-4 or something like that, and I didn't get many pins. You know, I was just worried about winning, all right, putting up points, and so he didn't call a fall in that match. But I've always enjoyed being around Mike, and you talk about him being a flashy dresser and all that, but he told me one time that tells you exactly what kind of guy he is, and I go all the way back to little kids tournaments at the state freestyle meet where tempers were getting high. I mean, back then, you know, when the Waterloo Boys Club showed up, you knew it was on, Stuart, right? When those boys showed up all across Iowa, basically, it was great. And Mike was there to basically calm down some of the emotions that were developing and all that stuff in tight matches and in competition. And the dignity that man carried himself through this whole process. But he's always a flashy dresser. And I asked him one time, I said, what do you do with these things? Because you got a lime green suit, you got a orange suit, and he was always looking great. I mean, these were impeccably, but he would give them away to the young men for prom, all right? And so he would follow that up, and that tells you the type of giving spirit and compassion he had, and always about helping him. And to hear Jim tell that wonderful introduction about him, that's fantastic here. Way to go. Jay Borschel, that was the most exciting semifinal match I think I've ever seen in my life, all right? To watch that and the progression that you did, I got an opportunity to do a lot of your matches. I mean, you were truly a great competitor, and it was no surprise but when the celebration that you had afterwards, after that comeback, I mean, there's just no doubt that you were going to go ahead and carry it through the next time. A lot of guys get those big wins at some point in time in the match, and they can't follow it up in the next round. And you did that and dominated, and that was really cool. But we're going to talk about Trent Paulson here. I mentioned before he was coached by Keith Massey, and these guys were responsible for really putting Southwest Iowa on the map as far as wrestling. I mean, Northeast Iowa, Gable, Peckham, Waterloo, Cresco. We all know how dominant that was when it started. Okay. It moved around, Dowling became good in the central Iowa area, right? But at this point in time, you guys really had it go in there. It's part of state championship teams, individual national champions, state championship teams, state champions teams and individuals. And what you had going there was pretty special. But these two guys coming out of that program under great tutelage with Keith Massey really made a difference. So when the Paulson brothers showed up at Iowa State, they had immediate success. What did you win? Like 18, 19 in a row, Midlands champions, and really were making a mark in the sport almost immediately, which is basically almost kind of unheard of. They're immediately competitive. Trent was a two-time state champion for Lewis Central, and I believe you had a knee injury at one point in time, didn't you? Or that was Travis, okay? Gonna get them mixed up here, okay? But two-time state champion, a three-time All-American at Iowa State, finished fourth, and was the NCAA champion as well. Both these men made world teams, all right? Not Trent made one in 2009, I believe, and that's just magnificent. Not only to go ahead and win a national champion, great freestyle wrestlers were always involved, not only as individuals at that level, having high aspirations, trying to become, not only make teams, but go ahead and make, get medals and all that stuff, but kept giving to the sport. And I think that comes a lot from the experience that you had with Coach Massey, all right, with the USA Wrestling, and now Jason Christensen heading up USA Wrestling Iowa here for us is doing a fantastic job. But always having that foot in the door, always trying to help out, always helping out with the statewide teams. The impact that these guys had, not only at Iowa State when they coached there, they're continuing to have that impact at the University of Virginia here where they're coaching at today. So when I made the call to be able to tell them, all right, that they were being inducted, two guys that just took it the same way. Couldn't be more excited. I said, when you look at the resumes of the people that are in this Hall of Fame right now, you're going to jump. You take the drive yourself here just to be able to get here, to quickly be here, to be a part of this. So very proud to have the opportunity to induct Trent Paulson, all right, as, what is it, the 146th inductee into the Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Trent.
I don't know how many of you guys watched my interview, but I'm the self-proclaimed better-looking twin of the two. We used to be hard to tell apart in college because we both had full heads of hair then. It's easy now, he's still holding on, and I went all in. But today's a special day as well because, first off, a lot of you guys probably don't know this, but Travis and I were a double whammy surprise. Our closest sibling is 10.5 years older. So my dad was getting ready to retire from this construction company, and wham, you're having twins. So when that happened, we always say it was the biggest blessing in our parents' lives, but it was a surprise, but it happened that we were born on Mother's Day, and now we're getting inducted in the Hall of Fame on our birthday. So happy birthday, Mom. She will not allow me to say how old she's turning. She said, I don't care how good of a wrestler you are, you will leave with a fat lip. So I'm not announcing her age. She's always had tough love. I remember, I think it was when I won my 6th AAU state title, we stopped at a gas station on the way home, and she claims it was because our nephew Trevor's car seat was in the middle of the back, that she couldn't see that I was in the car. But I ran in to use the restroom and get a candy bar, and I came back and she was pulling out of the parking lot. So, long story short, she said she couldn't see that I was in there because of the car seat, but later on I found out that she said she was teaching me a lesson because I only won by 6 points in the finals and I left points on the board. I should have got a major decision. Thank you, Mom. But I have a heart of gratitude. I'm thankful for this sport and everything it's done for me. So I got a list of people that I'm thankful for being here today. Thank you for the committee for giving us this honor. The names that Gibbons just listed, it's just cool to be amongst them. Thank you, Gibbons brothers, for all you've done in the sport. Gable, I don't even know, there's so much to list that I don't even know where to start. But one thing that stands out to me, Doug Anderson was our high school wrestling coach. And he had mentioned that we were decent wrestlers. We were at an Iowa football game, and he saw you, and he brought you over, and you pulled out your wallet, and you had a piece of paper, and our names were written on it. And that really stood out as like a freshman in high school. For a legend to have you in his wallet, it's encouraging, it's cool. What it means to people, you don't realize, but looking back now, it stands out. Thank you for all you've done for the sport. Jay, it's an honor to share the stage with you as well, and I don't think you understand the lasting impacts you have on Coach Garland. He he still loses sleep over that match. It was against Chris Heinrich. It was 9-2 in the third. He was already fist bumping Scott Moore in the corner saying, we got this. Like, we're going to the national finals, baby. And then here comes Jay Borschel storming back. Multiple stalling calls, broke him, and won the match. And then, of course, in the hallway, Brands is taunting Garland. So that didn't help. And then Garland mumbles to me, I still beat Strip Matter when he was the 1 seed my senior year. I was like, I don't know what that has to do with it, but cool, man. But that brought us to the conversation, we got to get Iowa studs to Virginia. And he's like, well, this is my 16th season, and we've never had anybody from the state of Iowa here. And I was like, just wait, just get on the road with me. I remember one of our home visits, it was Gable Porter, and he's from Council Bluffs, he went to Underwood, but we pull in the driveway, and he's driving a brand new black F-150, his dad is, and he has Hawkeye wrestling plates. It says I Penn, and obviously his name is Gable. And before we walked into the home, Garland grabbed me and he goes, Trent, I love you. I just left my family vacation at Disney World to go on this home visit, and I see this truck. I see that his name's Gable. What the F am I doing here? I was like, we're gonna get him. Fast forward, he's at Virginia, praise God. But coaching at many universities now, we were coached at Iowa State, Nebraska, and now Virginia, and it gives you perspective, and it really makes you realize how great the sport of wrestling is revered and respected in this state. Even just hopping over the pond in Nebraska when we did the RTC practices there, it's a different energy, it's a different talent pool, and Jordan Burroughs is a pretty good wrestler. We coached him at Nebraska, and if you went out with him, the people at the bars noticed the football players. They didn't notice Jordan Burroughs. If you go to a bar in Iowa, everybody knows who you are. And sometimes that's not a good thing, but everybody knows who you are. It's well known. They follow wrestlers. It means something here. And it's not like that in other states. Let me go down this list because I'm going to miss people. All the Hall of Fame people that have been inducted before us. Stuart Carter, legend. He was another guy that didn't start till his senior year, then he won a national title. Impressive. Becky Wilhite, Todd Hunt, they served on the board with me for the Cyclone Wrestling Club. Special relationships with me and my parents. College teammates, the Cooper twins are here in the back. Nate Gallick's here. Nate Gallick won a national title the year before me, and he was a great training partner, and he was always a ball of energy. I could tell stories on Nate, but I don't want to embarrass him right now. I'll save those for later for the social. Where'd I quit? Nate's nickname is Lightning Jack. He'd have an energy drink before every practice and then start shadow boxing anybody in the room. My best friend from college, Landry Magaha, he's here. He missed my national finals match, but he came from my Hall of Fame induction, so he kind of made up for it. Landry didn't wrestle himself, but he's got his sons in it. They're going to Seabolt, and he's got the itch, so I'm excited to see what his kids can do. Mark Kiss, Todd Becker, we coached them at Iowa State, studs. Kyvan Gadsden. Kyvan had one of the most impressive NCAA victories in recent memory. I mean, look at the guys in his bracket. Jaden Cox, multiple-time world medalist. Kyle Snyder, Olympic champ, world champ. The year Kyvan pinned him in the NCAA finals that summer, he won a world title. He was the youngest American to ever win a world title at the senior level. So hats off to you, Kyvan. You were a stud. Kyvan battled injuries too and pushed through it all. And his dad passed, and it was a hard time, and he persevered through it all. It was cool to be a part of that. Keith Massey, he took us in. He started doing individual private lessons with us in middle school. And back then, Travis and I were pretty well known for being high energy, is a nice way to put it. Now looking back, Massey says that we almost made him get out of coaching. He said he'd be doing a private lesson with us, and he'd have a long talk with us, like we need to get along and allow each other to do the moves when we're trying to learn it and the whole nine. And he said 15 seconds after the long talk, I'd whisper, call him the P word, And then 10 seconds later, he'd call me another inappropriate word, and it was a constant. And it's cool to see how far we've come, because there were times when we were almost the kids that you almost didn't let your kids play with, because we were so, I had the most demerits in middle school, and to turn that around, graduate with honors and get a degree from one of the best wrestling schools and have a pretty good coaching career. It's the journey that wrestling takes you on, and you don't always know it at the moment, but once you get to my age, and I'm sure you guys can relate, you start to see stuff come full circle. I have kids in the sport now, and when people invest in my kids, it means the world to me. And a lot of times when kids come to us, we're their parents at that point. They're halfway across the country, they're not there. So I know the feeling it gives me when people pour into my kids, so I try to do the same thing for them, because I know what it means to people. And I try to keep that in my coaching life. But keep going. Zach Dominguez, he was another guy that helped us a ton in the summer. Jason Christensen, he coached us at Fargo. Now we're blessed to coach his son at Virginia. Bobby Douglas, he was like a second father figure to us. He invested us off the mat. He always preached the degree's the most important, wrestling's part of it, and who you become in the process. I remember when we got second our senior year, and they interviewed Bobby, and they said, "What do you think this team, how great is this team?" And he goes, "Ask me in 20 years. And what do you mean in 20 years? The team is just see what kind of citizens they are, see how much they give back to their community, see what kind of fathers they are, see what kind of husbands they are." He was always big picture like that. It wasn't always just about the sport and titles. Cale Sanderson. Cale was actually took over my senior year, so I was lucky enough to be Cale's first national champion. They gave him the chair that he sat on when he coached me, and he gave that to me a few years ago. So that was a pretty cool full circle moment for me. Mark Manning, he invested in us. I was actually training with Mark at Nebraska when I made my world team, and he was always great. Zeke Jones was the Olympic coach at the time. He poured into us a lot. Brandon Slay, he was the resident coach. Coach Jackson, he took a chance on us, brought us back to Iowa State to let us coach and train there. Randy Lewis, he was actually one of the few Hawkeyes that was open to helping the Cyclones. And I know there's a hatred there, but I have a lot of respect for the Hawkeye program, and Randy was a wealth of knowledge, and it was really cool that he was willing to come and train with our senior level guys and give back. And I have some funny Lubu stories too. I'll probably save those for later, but one that stands out, I remember after one of the clinics, we went out and had a few drinks at a bar, and there were young college kids breakdancing on the dance floor, and all of a sudden Lubu went out there, and instead of breakdancing, he just starts doing foot speed as fast as he can. And everyone's looking what is this? Why is he foot speed? And then he would just walk back to me and he goes, "I still got it." I want to thank my twin brother. I don't think I would have accomplished nearly as much as I did if it wasn't for him. He's my younger brother, but I always looked up to him. His work ethic, his toughness, his grit. He still pushes me to this day. My wife and two sons, they couldn't make it, but my wife supported me towards the end of my Olympic career, and I'm just blessed to have two boys that are in the sport now, and look for their names later on because they're starting to get pretty tough. My dad, he couldn't be here today. He passed away 10 years ago? 10. Every day before we left, he said the same thing. "Trent, Travis, come here." "Yeah, Dad?" Before we walked out the door, he would always say, "Work hard and be humble every single day. Never missed a day." And those things stuck with us. It was kind of what Jay was saying. It's necessary to come up here and thank people, but you don't want to put on that's not what it's about. We're here because a ton of people invested in us. God bless us with gifts that we took advantage of, but you don't do anything by yourself, and I don't like to put a spotlight on us. It's a lot of people in this room that made it possible. And then, what's your why? In wrestling, I remember it was during our Olympic cycle, one of them, Don Ewing, we had a Bible study group with a lot of stud athletes of their era, and we're getting ready. I think it was for the World Class or Olympics, and they were like, "What's your why?" And we're like, "What do you mean, what's your why?" Like, to be the best, I want to be a badass. I want to be number one. Like, what else do you need? And he's like, "No, what's your why? Like, why are you doing it?" I was like, "I just told you." And he's like, "Well, do you ever think of when you win, do you think you just got those abilities on your own?" I was like, "No." I was like, "My dad was a football player. My mom's pretty athletic." I was like, "Biology." I was like, "You were given those abilities from a higher power, and you need to notice that, take note in that, and view in all the blessings you've been blessed with, and then glorify Him who gave them to you." And when you create a why like that, and you're serving a higher power, I think a lot of things take care of themselves. And it's cool to have that gift of salvation through wrestling to be able to relate to other guys. Fast forward probably 10 years when Jack Mueller, when he was a freshman, he lost in the semis. He hurt his ankle after he beat Dance, and then he lost to the Minnesota guy. And I remember after he lost, he was like in a deep depression for like 2 months. Like, wouldn't make eye contact with people, wasn't showing up to class. I'm guessing probably abusing alcohol a little bit, just in a dark, dark place. And I think Kale does a good job as anybody. Is wrestling's a sport, it's something you do, it's fun. It's not life or death, it's not where you get your value from. So fast forward, Jack Mueller gets saved while at Virginia, and 2 years later he's in the NCAA finals against Spencer Lee. And he loses, and the way he handled that loss, obviously, lifelong dream is become an NCAA champion for him. He didn't accomplish his goal, so yeah, he bawled his eyes out afterwards. He was hurt. But the next day, the sun shined. He's training his butt off, and he's not in a dark place. He's back to training. He's a joy to be around. He can have eye contact and have a good conversation. And to see that transformation, to be a small part of that, that's really what it's about to me. And it's just a never-ending pursuit of greatness and keeping things in perspective. And what else do I have? Another example I had on that too, I remember when Travis and I, he was the Olympic alternate. He lost, I think he beat Herbert the first match, and he lost the next two. I lost to Howe, and then Howe tore his ACL 30 seconds in, and Burroughs was on the team. I remember, like, that was kind of the tournament. Like, this was my last Olympic trials. And I remember finally at that point in my career, I was giving all the glory to God. It wasn't about me. I was just training my butt off, and it's all you, God. And when you're wrestling that way, you can have it at peace with it, but I was still kind of a young Christian. And I remember thinking, like, I finally did everything right. I was finally wrestling for you. How am I not on the Olympic team? I remember like a frustrating thought process. And throughout Travis and I's international career, we counted up the other day, it was like 18 different senior level world or Olympic champs. We had beaten all the best guys, but never at the right time. And we thought this was really our moment, and it kind of stuck with me. And then a year later, I was the Cavalier Wrestling Club head coach, and we had 7 Olympic hopefuls that were training. We were out in Colorado Springs at the national team camp. And Jordan Burroughs had won the Olympic gold, and he was the speaker at the church that Sunday. And at church that Sunday, he shared his testimony, and it was pretty much that his slogan was, "All I see is gold." And he finally got the gold medal at the Olympics that he trained for his whole life, and nothing had changed. He was still the same empty, broken person that he was before. Winning that Olympic gold didn't change anything for him. He thought he would have this happy feeling, and he still felt the same, and that freaked him out. And that led to him getting saved, and now he's one of the best ambassadors of sport, in my opinion, that we've ever seen, and might be the greatest wrestler ever. But God kind of told me, like, it's not about you accomplishing your goal. I got bigger plans, and it was cool to see that full circle moment. And if you get frustrated about not getting a result, keep grinding, stay positive, seek the Lord, and I think you'll be pretty happy with the overall outcome. Thank you.
Well, how are you going to top that, Travis? These guys have been competing with each other for a long time. I guess it won't change here, but you don't get a sense about family and just being there for each other. And I think that it's clear that they're taking that passion that they have for the sport and passion for each other as brothers to the next level and trying to help out the young athletes that they're working with. You've been exposed to a lot of really good people at Iowa State, Lewis Central, and the USA Olympic effort and your efforts in that. And it's really cool to see how both you guys are giving back and the dedication that you have to each other. Not many people can go ahead and, it's like a family business. How do you stick together that long and represent your brand? And they're doing it. So without further ado, we'll get to Travis. Travis was a 3-time state champion, and he was also a 3-time All-American at Iowa State, and made the 2010 World Team, and part of that terrific brand that the Paulson brothers put together in the state of Iowa. And let's, without ado, here introduce Travis as the 147th member of the Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame.
One of the benefits of Trent going before me, he already thanked everybody. He did steal one of my stories, but we'll see what I can come up with. I wanted to start with, he did the self-proclaimed award of best looking. He also won the same award for humility that night, so that was good. But first, thanks to the Hall of Fame committee. It's an honor to be here. And crazy list of legends on that list. Very humbling. Next, just Trent touched on this, but the good Lord for all the people that brought into our lives, all the opportunities, countless. And for all the friends and family that are here today, means a lot. I think the state of Iowa is like a factory or the perfect environment to develop elite wrestlers. And a lot of it's the blue collar, tough workers that produce great competition. And then great coaches. It's like living in Virginia and Nebraska and Iowa, it's like, these guys are spoiled here. We got so many good coaches, so many great options. I can remember in high school it was Massey, and early on his assistant was Mark Schwab, who's an absolute beast. And then later on it was Gary McCall, All-American at Iowa State. And we had the Kill Guards and Doug Anderson, Trent mentioned. And it's just crazy that all the talent that comes through here and all the people that give back. And the mindset with our coaches, it was just always evolve. And there's always something you can do better. It's like you go off and pen a guy or tech a guy, and it was like Massey had a list of like, though you think you did good, you could have pinned him earlier here, or you shouldn't have pinned him until the third period. You should have, so you got more takedowns, or it was always something. And so that never satisfied, always evolve, I think has stuck with us, and it's been great. My dad taught us everything that you could need to know about work ethic, not just talking about it, but an example daily. And being a man of character, like he was a little old fashioned. It was like, if you shake hands, you have a deal. His yes was a yes, his no was a no. And just the example he gave us was something pretty special. Our mom, who #1 gangster, always had our back, like always. She'd get up at 6 a.m. and take us to optional runs when we were in middle school. And it's like, who wants to get up that early and take their kids to a run? And took us all over the country to tournaments. I remember Trent mentioned we were high energy, and some of the teachers wanted to put us on medication. They're like, these kids can't stay focused for a minute. Like, put them on something. Let's drug these kids up. And my mom was pretty much like, excuse me, bitch? But she always had our back. And the only time she caved, we were on a bus and we wouldn't stay seated. And they're like, we need to put a seatbelt on these guys. And my mom was like, that's probably a good idea. But my brother, and it's like Proverbs 27:17, iron sharpens iron, so one man will sharpen another. Having a good twin brother in wrestling is like a cheat code, because that accountability partner, the guy that never accepts anything less than your best, that you're always pushing to get to the next level. And it's like family, brothers. You always know they have your best interests at heart. It's like, even if it's tough love, you know they want what's best for you. And so it's always been a special bond there. And I don't like to build Trent up too much, because I think you've already picked up on he can get a big head. But one thing I always looked up to him was his boldness. Our first wrestling practice, like we did WWF stuff at home, but we didn't know like wrestling moves. We went to practice the first time, and for some reason they were doing wrestle-offs that night. And we go there and they're like, does anybody want to challenge? And it was the coach's son. Does anybody want to wrestle Ryan? And then Trent's right next to me and he raises his hand. I was like, what the hell is he doing? Like, he doesn't even know a takedown or the points or anything. He gets up, they get in they were scrapping, they get in a long scramble, and then somehow Trent falls into a headlock and pins him, and it was just like dead silent in there. I was just like thinking, why the hell would you raise your hand there? And he's always been bold like that. It's like, if you, in coaching, I think his senior year, Hartung and Kale were like, don't go upper body with this guy. And it was locked like 7-7. And all Trent was doing was going upper body, because he had to prove that he was better in this position than that guy. And that was that guy's only position. And so finally he locks up over-unders, and they get in a wild scramble, and Trent throws him to his back. But it's like, don't let this guy get a crab ride. That was like the challenge for Trent, to get in the crab ride and then reversal the guy. And so his boldness and confidence has always been second to none, something I've always appreciated about him. And then I'll finish with a couple stories. One story that sticks out to me is, don't let someone tell you that you can't accomplish something that you know it's something that's worth accomplishing, that you know that if you like put everything into it, that you'll give yourself at least a chance. And I can remember my junior year, I tore my ACL, and we went to the doctor's office and got the MRI results, and it felt like a death in the family when they read off the results. They're like, torn ACL, you're gonna be out for 6 to 8 months. Reconstructive surgery, kiss the season goodbye. And we just came to the conclusion, like, this isn't my doctor. Went to the next guy, and he said that with some rehab and wearing a brace, you can wrestle. And ended up going through that season undefeated. I don't think I gave up a takedown all year, but I had to change my style. And learned a lot that there's always something you can do. It's like in coaching and being around a lot of people, there's people that are always looking for an excuse or focusing on what they can't do instead of what they can. And so like, maybe I couldn't wrestle live yet, but I could watch a lot of film. I could get ahead of schedule with school. I mean, there's always something. And so focusing on the controllables is something that I think is a very valuable thing to lean on. And the other part, my brother touched on Don Ewing with the question, like, why do you want to be a world champ, Olympic champ, insert state champ, national champ? And it was like, just to be the best. But I remember, like, I didn't think there was anything wrong with that answer at the time. And it was like this look of, not like disappointment, but almost hurt. And it was like, man, brother, my prayer for you is that it ends up turning into so much more. It's like you want to make it about, I have a platform now. You're going to go to Russia, Cuba, Ukraine, and have a chance to talk to people that, because of wrestling, that you'd never talked to in your entire life. And you're going to get interviews, and they're going to ask you who you think and why and what you're about. And he's like, man, I pray and I hope that you learn to see that it's so much more and how much of a difference you can make. And just had a lot of great people that have came through and kind of made me grow up a little bit. And it's just cool. Removes calluses from your heart and really a servanthood. You want to pour into people and help them accomplish their goals. And it's when I think it's a reward, it's like, it's cool to make this list, but it's more about everyone along the way that have helped and invested and been there. And so Trent already kind of thanked everyone, and I'm sure that we're missing someone, but thanks to everyone who poured in and invested, and just very grateful. Thanks.
All right, so we will wrap it up, but congratulations to our inductees. I guess what struck me there, Travis, is the excuses are for wussies. We just needed to have you put that on a shirt when you were in high school. Now that we know where the first guy wrestling without ACLs was at, so awesome. Congratulations, Jay. And congratulations, I know Mike had to take off, but congratulations to his family. Phenomenal night tonight, folks. So thank you to our presenters for coming up here and inducting these new folks. Guys, you are now members of a select group of Native Iowans who make up the Iowa Wrestling Hall of Fame, and it's with great pleasure for us, the board of directors, that we get to coordinate these ceremonies in your honor. Real quick, as always, before we get out of here for our 53rd annual banquet, I do need to thank some sponsors that make this night possible. To our financial sponsors, the CUSB Bank, Cresco Bank and Trust, Farmers Mill, Sovereign Grain, Cresco Fairway Store, CIA Insurance, Illumline, A&J Construction, McAllister Catering, which is right here, and thank you Heritage Event Center for a phenomenal meal tonight, and the Graphic Edge.